Hello, I'm Justine Willis-Toms. Welcome to the New Dimensions Cafe. Today I'm hosting Sam Daley-Harris. He's a leading innovator in citizens advocacy and founder of the International Citizens Lobby Results, and author of the fully revised edition of Reclaiming Our Democracy, Every Citizen's Guide to Transformational Advocacy. I'm speaking with Sam at his home by remote connection. Sam, welcome to the New Dimensions Cafe.
It's great to be with you.
Oh, it's great to have you. You know, there's a much reputable research showing that U.S. life and politics is at near record-breaking numbers of deep dissatisfaction, distrust, pessimism across the political spectrum. And political anger seems to produce even more polarization and more division in the general population. And I know that you advocate an effective way forward, and that is transformational advocacy rather than transactional advocacy. So what is the difference?
Yeah, well, with transactional advocacy, which everyone knows, it's like sign the petition, transaction complete. But with transformational advocacy, you're trained, encouraged, and succeed at doing things as an advocate you never thought you could do, like meet with a member of Congress and bring them on board to your issue. And when you do those kinds of things, you see yourself differently. That's the transformation in how you see yourself.
How do you even meet with your local representative? How do you even go about that?
Well, let me answer it this way. When I'm talking to a group and they want to know, well, how do I find an organization that works to deliver transformational advocacy? I have them look for three things. One, recruitment and community building. The organization brings new people in, not just to build an e-blast list, but to form them into local chapters so they're not working alone. That's the recruitment part. Community building. The organization has a monthly whole of organization webinar with guest speakers, Q&A, inspiration. So recruitment and community building is one of the ingredients. Two, training. How do you get the meeting with the elected? How do you plan for the meeting? What do you ask for in the meeting? How do you write a letter to the editor? Two, training. Three, the organization encourages breakthroughs. It encourages you to move out of your comfort zone because that's when confidence grows, when you're encouraged to do things you didn't think you could do and you pull it off, and all of a sudden, again, you see yourself in a new light.
If you're joining with others, you're not alone when you feel like nervous about, I don't know how to do this, but you're not alone. As you say, you're building a community. I know that we build a lot of communities online, but what do you think about meeting locally face to face?
Yeah, again, I think that's critical. I think transformational advocacy is predicated on relationship, relationship with each other, relationship with the elected official and their staff. And that's all a determinant of face-to-face meetings. I'm going to give you an example of the downside. Uh, Citizens Climate Lobby, a group that I coached its first 7 years, at the conference in DC the year before COVID, they had 1,500 volunteers in DC having 505 meetings with members of Congress or their staff. Well, then COVID hit, and getting together was no longer a possibility in a physical sense. So recently they had their most recent meeting. There weren't 1,500, there were 850. So they're building back up post-COVID to, in a sense, the intrusion that COVID was to that face-to-face relational work.
We got used to kind of staying in our own little cocoons and not doing that anymore. And it takes some effort then. I mean, I know for me, To think about making an appointment and actually going out and meeting someone and face to face and making it happen. It's a different kind of commitment, Sam.
Yes, but when we have some vision for how we want the world to be, it's a commitment that we're willing to make. I have this piece that I sent around. It said, feeling despair about what's happening in the world isn't a flaw, it's fuel. And these
Mm.
transformational advocacy organizations can show you how to use it. And so you want to use that fuel and not see it as a flaw.
It's almost going back to our tribal days of sitting around the
Mhm.
fire and
Yeah.
sharing our concerns and sharing our values, sharing our hopes, and then, as you say, training is also very much a part of it.
Well, again, it's how do I get that meeting? Me? Meet with the elected or how do I get it? Well, how do I plan for it so I don't look silly? What do I ask for in the meeting? So that all is important. But I think we all have this barrier of cynicism and discouragement. And I want to tell this story about an interview I did last year. It was a national radio interview like this one. And the interviewer was so vulnerable. He said, the passive nature to our politics now, you can feel beat down by it. I mean, this is my career, he said, and I feel beat down by it. I don't participate the same way others do because I'm a political journalist, but I do have to pay attention. It's a grind. It's a grind, Sam. I mean, I know you know that. What am I feeling? What is the way out of that? And I think he so powerfully expressed how so many people feel about what's going on today. And the first thing I said was Apollo astronaut Rusty Schweickart said, we aren't passengers on Spaceship Earth, we're the crew. Well, are we? And if we are, how does crew operate? And the second thing I said was futurist and climate activist Alex Steffen said, in fact, these days, cynicism is obedience.
Mm.
Yeah, if I'm cynical, I'm obedient to the way things are. I'm not going to do anything. Why would I if nothing I do makes a difference? And so we have to climb over that cynicism and that powerlessness hump so we can then do the training and get with the group and take the actions.
When we were back and forth on email, you brought up the name Jamil Zaki.
Well, yeah, and he's a different expression of the same idea. His book is titled Hope for Cynics: The Surprising Science of Human Goodness. I love that title. And in that he talks about it's if you're cynical, it's like you're playing poker and you fold your hand before the game even starts. And I say, well, if you're a civic cynic, you fold your hand before the Congress is even sworn in, before the first bill is even introduced. And so these structures of support that work to deliver transformational advocacy can help you open your hand back up and play rather than give up.
Do we need to be in Washington, D.C. to be transformational advocates?
No, I mean it's a very most people find it quite a high walking the halls of Congress and going to their meetings, but they represent back home. They come back home. They meet with people. It's not easy back home. So you can be right where you are with your letters to the editor, with your meetings, with your town halls that you go to. And right where you are is where you need to be.
When we see the news media, it's reporting a lot that's happening out of Washington, D.C. or other places. But what about local politics? How important is it for us to be part of that?
Well, it's critically important, but I'll add a but there. And that's, I really urge people to focus and not work on this and this and this and this, but to focus. And if your issue can be dealt with local elected officials, school board, city council, etc., with state officials in the state legislature, great. That's where you ought to focus. If it's a national or an international issue, you might want to be focused on Congress. But yes, local elected officials are very important. And yet, you as an activist, I would recommend focus where the rubber meets the road on your issue.
So, in other words, pick the issue that truly lights you up. It might be local, it might be national, it might be international.
Yes, and it might change. Pick the issue that lights you up, and it maybe you work on it for several years, and it maybe you work on it for several decades, and maybe it changes for some reason. And be open to that, but focus.
It's all about relationship, isn't it?
Yeah, I talk about people in the book. I'm thinking of Ellie Sparks, who went from what she called climate trauma to meeting with 20 congressional offices over 4 days and calling it sacred and profound. That's the transformation from climate trauma to sacred and profound. I talk about Maxine Thomas, who said to me, I was clueless about politics. And then she goes to Washington, meets for the first time ever with her elected officials, and says, I was euphoric. I was on this high and felt I was part of something revolutionary. From I was clueless to I was euphoric, that's transformational and transformational advocacy. And it's available if you get us into a structure of support that feeds you power.
So, what is your suggestion in how we can sustain our enthusiasm for this advocacy?
Well, again, if I join a local organization, maybe it's nationally connected and or state connected, and I'm on a webinar every month with my local team, and we're taking actions with elected officials or the media or some public speaking. We have all these, I'll call them small victories along the way. And these are the things that fuel us. That little win we had with the aid, that little win. Now, my letter wasn't published, but yours was. Hoorah, kind of thing. These little wins in our community, in our local chapter, are the things that can keep feeding fuel to our fire.
So, Sam, this takes a commitment of time. And I know many of us are worried about the roof over our heads or the health of our family or all sorts of reasons to not take the time. But you're saying because it's so important,
Yeah,
we are all affected by
yeah.
all of the advocacy that's happening right now. We have to take the time. We have to put it in our calendars.
And again, not take the time on everything. You said the roof of our head. It might be that you're working on an issue that affects these kinds of personal issues of healthcare or housing or food security, et cetera. Maybe that would be your focus. But yeah, uh, I think, deep down, I think everyone wants to make a difference, of course, in their family and also in their community, nation, and world. And with some care, you can be encouraged to do both. And if people go to my website, reclaimingourdemocracy.com, there's a learn more button where there you can let me know you'd like to be connected with one of these groups that I work with that delivers transformational advocacy. And I can put you in touch so you're not like, well, that was a good interview, but I don't know what to do. I don't know how to connect. I can help you connect or even come in and speak, possibly by Zoom, to your place of worship, your class, your book group, or whatever.
Oh, excellent. I want to remind people that that website is reclaimingourdemocracy.com. Thank you, Sam, so much for being with us on the New Dimensions Cafe today.
It's been a thrill.
I've been speaking with Sam Daley-Harris, a leading innovator in citizen advocacy and founder of the International Citizens Lobby Results, and the author of the fully revised edition of Reclaiming Our Democracy Every Citizen's Guide for Transformational Advocacy. And besides his website at reclaimingourdemocracy.com, you can get there through the New Dimensions website, newdimensions.org, where you'll find over 1,900 programs in our archive. I'm Justine Willis-Toms. I want to thank you for joining us at the New Dimensions Cafe, and I invite you, please do join us again.